If you're coaching recreational gymnastics and you need a way to engage your group as well as burn their energy while teaching them forward rolling, this is the game for you. It's called the rolling game. Okay, so we're going to dive in and get started. Now, I'm going to explain how the game works, and I'm going to talk about strategy at the end of what you can do to make the game more interesting. So here's your setup. You need a student. You need a soft object. Pit cube works really well. A wedge. Stopwatch, something to keep track of time, and something to record numbers. You're going to have numbers involved, okay? What they're going to do is place the object between their feet, forward roll down the wedge as many times as they possibly can for 30 seconds while counting their numbers as an individual. Then at the end of the assignment, the challenge, you will have them add all their numbers together as a total group number to see how many the group got in 30 seconds, okay? Then they go to the next challenge. Now they're rolling up the wedge for 30 seconds, counting their numbers. Don't worry if kids cheat on their numbers. It just makes it more fun and interesting. So don't be a stickler on that. Just let them have fun because they're going to be burning energy, working really hard, trying to keep the pit cube between their feet. And remember, if they lose the pit cube between their feet, they don't get to count their numbers. Okay, then we have to stick the pit cube between our belly and our legs. So now we have to keep our core engaged and we're rolling down the wedge as many times as we possibly can. This is going to solve the problem where the kid opens up to the bottom, doesn't know how to keep their core engaged, is, gooey essentially at the end. So now they have to squeeze tighter. Again, if they lose their pit cube, they don't get to count their numbers. At the end of the challenge, everyone counts their numbers together as a total group. And there's a very important reason why. And the last one would be then going up the wedge, trying to hold. This is going to force the core to engage even more. This is much harder. And for those that have a little bit more goo in them, they will have a much more difficult time doing this. But again, you're going for 30 seconds, counting your numbers as a group. That's the rolling game. So now let's talk about strategy and the importance of understanding the strategy of what you're trying to do. First off, you're counting your numbers because there's an accountability built into when a person counts their own numbers, they feel that they have to work harder. Nobody wants to get a low number personally. So if I am counting your numbers for you, it does not affect you the same way as if you're counting your numbers for yourself. There's a different sense of work that comes in based off of who is keeping track. Now, if I cheat, that's actually not a bad thing because I can leverage cheating against you. If you go through the first challenge and you cheat your numbers, and I know you did, let's say it's gone 30 seconds and you're like, I did 100. Well, that's impossible. But that's fine. We'll take the 100 and we'll add that 100 to everybody else's number. And that will be, whatever, 120, 145. It doesn't matter. You can go to the next challenge and say, okay, well, now you need to beat the score your whole group just got. Well, now the cheater is feeling kind of bad because they got 100 and something and that's impossible. And so they're going to have to cheat again. So that's one thing you can leverage cheating and it just makes it fun and interesting. Or you can just literally curb the person's, ego essentially right there, put them in check, which is good because if people are cheating, then that is an accountability thing that you can use. And the student says, I did 60 in 30 seconds, which again is impossible. They don't know that because they don't know how to do math. You can simply say, well, that's just not possible. And now you're holding them accountable to being honest. Oh my goodness, honesty. We can be teaching honesty now in a game because now we're asking a person to be accountable. They're lying to you and you can hold them accountable by just literally going, that's impossible. The math doesn't math. So I'm going to give you 20. Do you think you did 30? Did you think you did 15? You can just make up a number. In fact, you're doing the addition. Nobody else is doing the addition. So once you add everybody's numbers up, you can also cheat yourself to benefit your group. Let's just say, for instance, you add the whole totals up and you see that it's 245 and you think, the next challenge is going to be impossible to get to 245 because that's not even a real number. You can just say, by adding everybody's number up, we got to the number 42. You could just make it up. They're not going to be adding up 6 kids' numbers inside their head trying to figure the final score, unless you have a math genius inside your group. Most kids aren't going to try that hard. Either way, you can take that number, the total number that the group had, and leverage it against the next challenge. Oh, you go to challenge 2. What do you need to do? Beat the number of challenge 1. What do you then try to do? Beat the number of challenge 2 with challenge 3, beat the challenge 3's numbers with challenge 4. And so now you're leveraging the challenges against themselves. And as the challenges get harder, they're going to have to work harder. That's one way you could use strategy in this game. Another way you could use strategy in this game is you could do the same challenge twice. It's a really great idea. It works really well. 30 seconds, count your numbers, add them together. Oh my goodness, we got our total. Isn't that great? Good. We're going to do it again. Just beat your numbers. Simple as that. So we're not leveraging challenges against each other. We're just leveraging the challenge against itself. Now we're going to get kids to work even harder. Now, last point. Everybody's numbers need to contribute to the total global whole. Why? Because kids are sensitive. and they don't like to lose, and they're not ready to lose. Losing's great. It's a very good life lesson when you're mature. But when you're learning just how to participate, how to be liked, how to enjoy the process, losing sucks. So don't make losers in your group. What you do is, if a kid only gets 1 or 2 numbers in, and you're going through how many you get 5, and how many you get 7, and how many you get 52, and how many you get 1, that kid who got 1, if you're doing individual numbers, is going to feel like crap. So no, you don't. You're like, that's awesome. We needed that 1. That 1 gets added to the entire group. Now that child feels like they're contributing and they have purpose and meaning because they're part of something bigger than themselves. Then they're not being isolated and picked out and spotlighted like you suck. Okay, so now we get to add that kid's numbers to the group. Now all that kid needs to do, if I do the challenge again, they just need to get 2. They actually become the defining difference between beating our total. If everybody got the same exact numbers, but the child who got 1 gets 2, you are now the reason why the group beat its entire score. That's fantastic. You're actually a key component to the entire group. The person who's the laziest actually has the greatest impact when you're adding everybody's numbers together and then trying to beat that number. This is how you get lazy kids to start working harder, because they actually have a reason to work harder, because they're the reason the group will win. Fantastic. Everybody loves this game. There's more ways to play this game, but I'm not going to go into it in that video. You're going to have to watch another video to figure that one out, which I'll probably do sometime whenever I feel like it. Who knows when. Have a great day. Bye.